The measurements required to cut a flare or circular sleeves are our sleeve length and our armhole. After obtaining these measurements, we need to do a little bit of calculation. And the formula we need for our calculation is the radius of a circle, which is circumference divided by 2 pi. And in this situation, the circumference is our armhole, the armhole measurement we obtained, and the pi is a 3.14 from our secondary school mathematics. Now we are going to divide our armhole by 2 pi, and in my situation, my armhole is a 22 plus 1 inch sewing allowance, which is 23 inches. I now divided it by 6.28, which is 2 pi. I divided 23 by 6.28, which gave me 3.7. And that 3.7, I approximated it into to 4. And my armhole, the measurement I obtained for my sleeve length is 11 inches plus 1 inch sewing allowance, which gives me 12 inches. And to this 12 inches, I added 4 inches, which gives me 16 inches. And this 16 inches is what I'm going to use to fold my fabric. We need to fold our fabric into 4. I will use this 16 inches by 16 inches to fold my fabric. And that's what I have folded on the table, like so. And the first thing I did is to mark round the fabric. I marked the 16 inches from the corner of the fabric. I mark it round after folding the fabric using that 16 inches by 16 inches. In order not to waste my fabric, you can see me fold the exact 16 inches by 16 inches measurement. And that I now mark it out round the fabric from the corner. And this is me joining my marks together. I join the mark together just like we normally do for a peplum. The next thing is to cut out my measurement. After cutting it out, the next thing I need to do is to notch the corners of the fabric, and at the center I use my chalk to mark the center of the circle, which is the sleeve, and now notch the two edges of the circle before unfolding. Very important, remember to notch these two edges and also mark the center with a chalk before unfolding the fabric that you cut. Remember, we are trying to make a flare sleeve. This is the circle that we obtained from my measurements. Now the next thing is to draw a line joining the notches to the center of the circle and through to the other side, to the notch on the other side. We have to draw a line crossing each other, passing through the center of the circle, like so. Make sure the line are straight from one notch. The notch that we made earlier on, they are joined together by the lines that we are drawing. You find out that the notch we made is now on the four corners of the circle, the four on 4 points on the circumference of the circle, and that's what I'm joining together now with my chalk, passing through the center of the circle where we made a mark earlier on. Now from the calculation we obtain from using the formula for the radius of a circle, which for me is 3.7, which are now approximated to 4 inches. We are going to measure from the center of the circle the 4 inches. We will measure it. You measure whatever you obtain from using that formula for the radius of a circle, which is circumference divided by 2 pi, which is actually your armhole divided by 2 pi, your armhole divided by 6.28. Whatever you obtain from that measurement, you now measure it from the center of the circle straight like so. This is where I mark my 4 inches. From that 4 inches point, you now begin to mark round another 4 inches round the point, which will make a new center of another circle. You begin to measure it round and mark it 4 inches, which is the result you obtain from your calculation using your armhole divided by 6.28. You begin to mark it round like so in a circular manner. From that point you marked from the center of the original circle, just like I'm doing. You mark it round in a circular manner. You mark round 4 inches using the first mark you made, the first 4 inches mark you made from the center of the fabric. That first 4 inches mark is now the new center of another circle, which will mark round for 4 inches again, like I'm doing. Whatever you obtain from using your armhole to do the calculation is what you are going to mark round, what you are going to use to form this new circle. This is me confirming my measurements and making sure I have enough points to join round to form a new circle. And this is me joining the mark I made. This is me joining the mark I made after marking out my 4 inches round the length from the center of the circle, which is 4 inches from the center of the fabric, 4 inches. And from that 4 inches, I now mark out another 4 inches round that point to make another circle. Now, the next thing I need to do is to make a mark on the center of the new circle from where I will cut out the circle. I will cut it out. I will cut out the hole. I will cut out a hole from that new center of the circle to make our armhole. Now this is what we have after cutting out the circle. If you decide to measure round that circle, you will discover that you obtain your exact armhole measurement. You will discover that you obtain your exact armhole measurement, and after cutting it out, you fold your fabric like so. You see that the circle has a larger part and a shorter part. The smaller part will be under your arm, while the longer part will be on top of your shoulder. I decided to cut open the underarm in order for me to use the sewing allowance which I already added. Then I notch the top of the circle, the longer part, I notch the top of it where I'm going to attach it to my shoulder. Remember to notch it at the middle of the top where you will join the fabric to the shoulder of your dress. Make sure it is well arranged before you notch it. This is what we have. This is what it's going to look like. This is me notching the center of the top of the fabric where I will join it to my shoulder. Always remember to notch it. That's where you will join to the top of your shoulder, the top of the armhole. Thank you very much.